Wings of Starlight by Allison Saft. In the magical queendom of Pixie Hollow, where fairies orchestrate the turn of the seasons, Princess Clarion prepares for her fast-approaching coronation. She is a governing talent, a rare fairy born from a wished-upon star, destined to rule. Yet Clarion feels anything but ready. She is isolated by her unique status, unable to connect with her subjects, and struggles to master the powerful starlight magic that is her birthright. Her mentor, the reigning Queen Elvina, is a stern and pragmatic ruler who insists that a good queen must be as cold and remote as the star she came from, a philosophy that chafes against Clarion's compassionate nature. One languid afternoon in the summer glade, Clarion defies Elvina's rules by leaving the palace grounds unattended. She rescues an exhausted bee, a simple act of kindness that brings her a moment of uncomplicated joy and a brief, normal conversation with an animal talent fairy. The interaction is cut short when the fairy recognizes her, and the deference and awe that follow serve as a painful reminder of her queenly solitude. The fragile peace of Pixie Hollow is soon shattered. During a council meeting, a frantic scout reports a monster sighting near the border between spring and the feared winter woods, a desolate, icy realm that warm fairies are forbidden from entering, lest the bitter cold shatter their delicate wings. Elvina handles the news with an unnerving calm, dismissing Clarion's offers to help and shutting her out of the crisis management. Bristling at being treated like a child and driven by a deep-seated need to protect her people, Clarion decides to investigate on her own. Under the cover of twilight, she flies to the border. There, a flash of silver light in the winter woods reveals not a monster, but a young sparrow man. He is ethereal, with bone-white hair and eyes as gray as a winter sky. Wary but resolute, he introduces himself as Milori. Clarion, initially putting on a queenly, authoritative air, is disarmed when he reveals he is the Warden of the Winter Woods and has come to warn her of the very monster her scouts saw. A creature, he explains, has escaped from his realm. Before he can explain further, he insists it's too dangerous to talk at night and promises to return every evening for a week, hoping she will meet him again. Clarion returns to the palace, deeply unsettled by the encounter and by Elvina's secrecy. The following evening, while Clarion is observing preparations in the autumn forest with its keen and kindly minister, Rowan, the monster attacks. It is a horrifying beast of living shadow and violet light, a serpent-like creature that spits a venomous black substance. Any fairy it strikes falls into a death-like, unbreakable slumber. As the beast corners Rowan, a protective fury ignites Clarion's magic. A burst of starlight erupts from her palm, searing the creature and forcing it to retreat. Clarion is horrified to find Rowan and 10 other fairies unconscious, trapped in their magical sleep. In the aftermath, Elvina reveals the creatures are called nightmares, ancient beings that feed on fear. However, she still refuses to let Clarion participate, devising a plan to sever the magical bridges that connect winter to the warm seasons, effectively abandoning them to their fate. Betrayed by Elvina's lack of trust and horrified by her ruthless plan, Clarion knows she has no choice but to trust Milori. With the help of her two closest companions, she prepares to cross into winter. Petra, her best friend, a brilliant but perpetually anxious tinker with a shock of wild red hair, begrudgingly sews her a protective, fur-lined coat. Artemis, her stoic and fiercely loyal scout guard, with shorn black hair and a hidden soft spot, agrees to cover for her, trusting Clarion's instincts over the Queen's orders. Clarion crosses the border and enters the breathtaking, glittering world of the winter woods. Milori is waiting, and for the first time, she sees his world not as barren, but as a place of stunning, crystalline beauty. He takes her to the Hall of Winter, a magnificent library carved from ice, presided over by an eccentric and enthusiastic old fairy known as the Keeper. There, using her latent magic, Clarion unlocks an ancient book. It tells the story of the nightmares. They are born from the bad dreams of children and were long ago imprisoned beneath a frozen lake by a group of dream talent fairies, a talent now lost to time. The Lord of Winter, Milori's predecessor, nobly volunteered to become their eternal warden. Clarion and Milori theorize that her starlight magic, born from a wished-upon star, might be able to repair the prison's deteriorating dream magic barrier. Their first attempt at the lake ends in disaster. A powerful nightmare breaks through the ice, and Clarion is injured in the fight. Milori rushes her to the winter healers, where a kind fairy named Yarrow tends to her wounds. In these moments of shared danger and vulnerability, a deep and tender bond forms between Clarion and Milori. Their burgeoning feelings are complicated when Elvina reveals the truth of Pixie Hollow's history. She claims the first Warden of Winter grew resentful and rebelled, and that the nightmare's influence makes all winter fairies untrustworthy. She presents Clarion with a sword hilt forged by Petra, explaining that on the solstice, Clarion's magic can be channeled through it to create a blade of starlight, powerful enough to destroy the bridges forever. Clarion is horrified, torn between her duty to Elvina and her trust in Milori. Her conflict with her mentor spills over into a painful argument with Petra, who, caught between her loyalty to Clarion and her duty to the crown, accidentally reveals Clarion's secret excursions to Elvina. The night of the coronation ball, the fragile truce is broken. A massive swarm of nightmares, led by a powerful queen nightmare, breaks free from the prison and attacks the winter fairies' own ball. Clarion, feeling betrayed by Petra and Elvina, rushes to their aid with Milori. The battle is devastating. Petra and Artemis, wearing prototype coats of their own, arrive to help, but in the chaos, Petra is struck down by a nightmare and falls into the slumber. Witnessing her best friend's fall, Clarion unleashes an explosive wave of pure starlight, annihilating the swarm of lesser nightmares, but completely depleting her own magic. She collapses, her inner light extinguished, her body succumbing to a deathly chill. Knowing she will die if she remains in the cold, Milori makes a devastating choice. He carries her across the border into the heat of the warm seasons. The warmth saves her life, but it melts his right wing, breaking it irreparably. He gets her to the healers just as Elvina arrives, and with a final, heartbreaking goodbye, returns to his own realm, forever flight impaired. As Clarion recovers, Elvina finally confesses everything. Her own power is waning, and she will soon fade and return to the stars. She kept the truth from Clarion to protect her from the pain and burden of rule, a choice she now deeply regrets. In a moment of shared grief and understanding, the two queens reconcile. Spurred by Milori's sacrifice and a newfound understanding of her own power, Clarion realizes she must face the source of the plague alone. She travels back to Winter one last time and dives into the now empty prison beneath the lake. There, she confronts the Queen Nightmare, a massive dragon that traps her in an illusion made of her deepest fears, a dying Pixie Hollow, the hatred of her friends, and her own inadequacy. But hearing Milori's voice calling to her from above the ice, she remembers her promise to build a better world and realizes her strength comes not from suppressing emotion, but from embracing hope and love. With this conviction, she unleashes her full power and obliterates the Queen Nightmare for good. With the source destroyed, the spell is broken, and all the sleeping fairies, including Petra and Rowan, awaken. Clarion and Milori reunite at the lake, their love for each other undeniable. However, they both accept a painful truth. A romance between the rulers of two such different realms is too dangerous. For the good of their people, they agree to remain apart. At her coronation held on the border between spring and winter, Clarion is crowned queen. In her first royal decree, she officially reunites the realms, appointing Milori as the Lord of Winter and a member of her royal council. But she also forbids any fairy from crossing the border, a law born from the pain of Milori's sacrifice. As her subjects celebrate, Queen Clarion and Lord Milori share a final, lingering look across the divide. Two leaders bound by love and duty, forever connected and forever apart.